Today is Thursday, October 5th, 2023. My name is Alexis Briggs Brignoni, aka, again, like I said, Briggs, and I'm accompanied by my co-host, the test data guru, the secret uncoverer, and the definition of a digital forensic analyst, the one and only Heather Charpentier. The music is Higher Up by Shane Ivers and can be found at silvermansound.com. Hello, everybody, and hello, Heather.
Hello.
There we go. There you are. What's happening?
Oh, nothing. How are you?
Good. I'm here trying to. There we go. Get this show started. There we go. So, welcome to everybody, the ones that are listening live, and the folks that will be watching or listening later on. Digital Forensics Now podcast, where we talk about all things digital forensics and digital forensics examiner wise of interest. So there you go. So Heather, tell me about you. What's been going on the last 2 weeks since last we talked?
Oh, just been busy. Glad that the Cellebrite Capture the Flag is over.
We'll have PTSD, like one of the folks
done.
said.
It's done. It was fun and I learned a lot, but glad it's over. So that busyness is done. Just been busy at work and planning for the next podcast with you.
Absolutely.
What's been going on with you?
Just working a lot of working cases, doing a little bit of coding, and we'll discuss it a little bit later on in the show. The community does great work and pushes us and vendors to be better. So I'm happy about that, and we'll discuss it. You're like, what is this guy talking about? Just hang on, we'll talk about that in a second. But no, it's been it's been busy, family, kids, the works. But happy to be here, talk about things that we care about, and I know a whole bunch of people that are listening care about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to hit on a topic that we talked about last podcast real quick, because I want to add a little correction / addition to a previous statement I made about one of the tools we talked about. Mm-hmm. The SQL CMD tool that I showed last podcast. I talked about the maps. And those are the SQL statements that run that tool that are used to go and hunt for the databases and are used to parse out the information inside of the databases. And I had said that they hunt for the database based on the name. And I just wanted to put in a little correction before we get started, that the name can be used, but it'll also find the database based on the identity query. So if someone renames things or you carve, it'll still find those databases. So just wanted everybody to know that before we get started tonight.
Yeah, and that's the tool that we talked about last episode from Eric Zimmerman.
It is. It is
to kind of work those databases. So that's a good correction.
It is. And I want to also encourage everybody to try that tool out. I've been using it as a triage tool on my extractions prior to, while I'm waiting for them to open up in some of the other tools. And it'll pull those databases and you can get started with your analysis on some of those databases that are supported with the tool while you're waiting for the rest of the extraction to parse. So really good tool. And I encourage everybody to give it a try.
Oh, yeah. The days of just sitting and waiting 8 hours. I mean, if you can wait 8 hours for your examination to be done, hey, good for you. You got plenty of time.
Yeah,
but
right.
But triage is now the name of the game. Being able to get to actionable data as soon as possible. So you got another tool in your arsenal for that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. So one topic that we are going to talk about tonight is the new FTK8. I think everybody has probably seen on all of the social media. FTK8 is come out with some new mobile support and kind of a whole new look. So I have some slides actually to share about that. I'm going to attempt here to share. Much smoother than the last podcast with sharing the screen. But FTK has some new mobile device artifacts I wanted to share with everybody. You can still use FTK8 and have the same look as you're used to seeing. The mobile data artifacts that they're supporting. They have a lot of app specific support. So in my test data, I'm seeing support for Discord, Facebook, the iOS native, Kik, Snapchat, WhatsApp, and there's a lot more of the application specific mobile artifacts that I saw supported in my iOS test device when I ran it through the new FTK8. They're supporting calls, conversations, messages, contacts, MMS, and SMS. And then new to FTK in the system summary tab, which is not where I expected to see mobile data. So be on the lookout if you're going to try out the FTK8 mobile data options. There are a whole bunch of mobile artifacts. So they're doing biome artifacts, which is really cool. They're doing Bluetooth, browser data, email, health, knowledge C, location, media, and a whole bunch of other mobile artifacts. I tested it out, and it's comparable with a lot of the other commercial tools that you see that have supported mobile artifacts for quite some time. And then they also have a whole brand new look. I'm going to go back a couple of slides, actually just one slide. If you guys can see in this slide here, there's a little tab up on the top called Smart View. So from the original look that FTK has, you can click the Smart View button and it will pop your artifacts that you have bookmarked or your mobile artifacts or any of your artifacts out into this new look.
And folks are listening for the podcast, right? If you're familiar with FTK, the core interface, which they had for the last 20 years, and of course modifications here and there. It's gonna be on the top right, and you cannot miss it. It says Smart View. What's that color? Is that Heather? Orange or something, right?
Yeah, they're all pop back.
Yeah, and the background of the core product is kind of like white. It's pretty like eye burning, and now that everybody's moving to a dark mode. But when you hit Smart View, right? What the type of view that you get is a more modern and also dark mode, right?
Right. Yeah. So now you have that dark mode option. You can in the new Smart View change it back to like the white mode. I don't know why you would, but they have the dark mode now. There's a whole bunch of new features and they're all outlined in their user guide, but I just picked out a few that I really liked in the new Smart View. So one of the new features that I really liked is their new multimedia view. So in the multimedia view, they have the capability where they're stacking duplicates, and it's not just based off of hash, it's also the visual, so the visual and the binary copies. But they also have a hover feature. So you can hover. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of it here, but you can actually hover over the thumbnail and the image will pop out into a larger view of the image. So it'll pop up for you so you can get a better view of the image. I really liked that. I do hope that there will be the feature where you can turn that off in cases like CSAM though, because when you hover over it, the image just automatically pops up in a larger view on the screen. And I don't want that to happen in CSAM cases, at least not for me. And then they've added a whole bunch of the mental health, or wellness features as well, where you can blur and hide the images in the multimedia view. Another new feature that I really liked in the FTK8 in the Smart View is the mini timeline view. So I don't have the full view of the Smart View on the screen, but this is a section where I was looking at SMS messages and there are dates related to the SMS message here. And what you can do here is pick a date from the SMS message and click on it. And then you click on the mini timeline view and it'll pop out over on the right, the mini timeline, and it shows you what's going on that device around that date when the message is taking place. So in my view, I was just chatting. So all of my timeline is showing chat messages. But if the person was Google searching or um, sending things or doing other functions on the device, you would see a little mini timeline of everything that was taking place on the device around the time of that message. I really think that's a cool feature in the new FTK8.
Yeah, and I mean, some of us are really, and I think Kevin DeLong was saying. Let me see if I can find it here. Find it here again. Happy to have him here. He was saying that he's used to that classic tab mode from the core view. But again, we've been using it for 20 years. In
Yeah.
my case, 16. But some of the things that they could definitely, and I'm pretty sure they'll work on, is how to make that transition seamless. Let's say I'm in classic or the core view. I want to take it to this new type of view, then be able to do it from that interface without having to go and click on the button and then try to backtrack where I'm at. So that's something that definitely I think they'll be working on in the near future.
Yeah, definitely. And then the other new feature that I really liked in FTK that I felt like I needed to point out is their super timeline view. So they have another like toggle switch that you can click and it brings you out into a timeline of all of your artifacts. It is really heavy on filtering. And my one critique is it can get a little bit busy in the timeline view. So the first day I tried it, I was like, oh, I don't know about this. But I've been using it for a few days now. And I think I'm starting to get used to the look of it and starting to get used to how it works. That I think timeline is one of the major features that's missing from a lot of tools, like a really decent timeline feature. So I'm really excited to see how this develops and see how in the future improvements are made to the timeline feature in this. I like the start and I really hope it just continues to get better. One of the things I really hope for the timeline feature as well is a way to create a decent report out of it. I think that's a really important feature to have for any timeline view and for any tool for that matter. So, but those are the main artifacts that I really liked about the new version.
And I want to make something clear for everybody, because we should have said this at the beginning. When we talk about tooling, be it free or from vendors, we have received from them, as for talking about their tool in the show, we receive a grand total, and full disclosure, a grand total amount of $0.00, and we receive 0 copies, 0 free anything, right? So
Right.
I'll be straight with everybody. We're not shields for everybody. We're not haters of anyone either, right? We try to see things that as they're coming out are fair opinions, constructive criticisms, but yeah, we don't receive any type of kickback for any of this, just to make sure everybody understands that. And yeah, there's a lot of good things. It reminds me from I think the first show I was saying, well, FTK is now kind of like a e-discovery platform, right? And a few weeks pass and they're like, actually, we're catching up on mobile too. So I'm like, oh, well, take that, Briggs, for talking out of line. So no, I appreciate the effort that the company's putting in to catch up in the mobile space, because again, we're not shield, but we're not haters. But the fact is that FTK iLEAPP needed to catch up in regards to the mobile space. And Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, 80-90% plus of our cases are mobile cases. It's mobile devices and mobile artifacts.
Yeah, I would lean toward toward the 90. Definitely toward the 90.
Yeah, so tooling needs to make that integration between desktop, I say desktop, but traditional computer forensics with mobile, and mobile becoming a point of continuous development, because developments in the Windows world, which is the main one, is pretty stable, right? An event log is an event log for years and years and years. And there was a change between the old version and the new one, but that happened how many years ago? But
Yeah,
mobile,
right.
mobile, you got stuff coming out like constantly, and artifacts constantly, right? So it's a change of mentality from vendors in regards to what are they supporting and at the speed that they do it as well.
Right. Yeah, no, I really hope that they keep up with adding all of the new mobile artifacts and catch up with some of the mobile artifacts that maybe they haven't integrated into the tool yet. And I've talked about some of the things that I do like. I have some dislikes as well. The reporting is not there yet. I'm waiting for a great report to come out of the new mobile features. So hopefully moving forward, there'll be a really good reporting feature. That's really, really important to me. I think it probably is to most people, but that's the most important thing to me. If I'm going to go into this brand new fancy tool and see this great new interface and see all of these new mobile artifacts, and then I can't create a report out of it that is presentable for court, I mean,
And not only this tool, all tool vendors. Look, if you put a visualization that's nice on your product, how can I not make a report out of it? Why do
right,
I have to screenshot things? And
right.
this is for all vendors. I'm not saying this to the
Yeah,
external. No,
no, all vendors.
all vendors. And
Yes,
and you all know it. If you have
yes.
visualizations, let me export it. Let me pick a piece of it or whatever I have on the screen, and let me put that out. I want to talking about being not shields or nor haters. I like this comment from Kevin saying that this week podcast is sponsored by the Leap Project, which with 100% money back guarantee, just because it's absolutely free. So thanks, Kevin, for making sure you mention the sponsor of the show.
They do have a portable case too. So I got a chance to look at the portable case for a few minutes. I think you got a chance to look at the portable case a little bit more than I did. Um,
Yeah, and the
thoughts?
probable case, I think it's still a work in progress. No, I am really opinionated on that, and of course that's why I'm here. And this is the thing, right? I everybody uses portable cases, and there's nothing wrong with them, but I believe they're suboptimal. I believe that, and to Xtero's credit, they have a platform from the beginning that's designed to be able to be multi-user. Let's say you're within that a local network, you can set an FTK installation with clients, and as long as you have enough licenses, you can have 2, 3, 4, 5 reviewers hitting the same data set at the same time. And if you look into speed, and it's something I was going to mention a little bit later, but I think it's good now. If speed on working cases doesn't come only from having fast computers, although that's important. It doesn't come from only having an efficient tool set, even though that's important. It comes from two extra things: the people that are reviewing it, the more the better, and the people that are overseeing that effort and putting the depth, which is the people that are in the I say in the call, but with here on the show and are listening on the other side, the examiners themselves, which is what the show is targeted towards. So you are the one that pick up the speed. Now, portable cases, you kind of lose control, right? You want to put multiple people to review, you hit out this 5, 6 portable cases, you're hoping that they come back, or maybe they don't, or then you have to be after people. Hey, are you done with your review? We're waiting on. Oh, you lost the hard drive. So
Just-
yeah, not that that's ever happened, of course, but there's
Never.
there's a loss of control and more overhead when you do that. Now I understand that if you're in a lab where you're the one person band and you have the one computer and you don't have a network set up, or not, or a forensic network set up, then sure, you use portable cases all day long and there's nothing wrong with them, and that's fine. And during the pandemic, portable cases were pretty popular because people weren't able to maybe come onto the office and collaborate they were used to, right? But for efficiency terms, I believe network reviews is way better. Xtero has it, and I think other vendors should follow that lead, and follow that lead, not by selling me this overpriced thing. Like, it should be a part of the core product. Hey, you're in the same network, you should be able to collaborate and have multiple people hit at that data. And no issue. Do that review in conjunction. So, but yeah, the probable case is a work in progress. I was privileged enough to see some of the builds that they're developing, but I think we'll comment more when the full thing is out.
One of my thoughts on the like portable cases and reader type of exports is a lot of times they're pushed out and portrayed as this is everything. So go through everything. And it's not. It's not everything. It's whatever you've put into that case, or it's whatever is selected, right? So I'm not blaming any vendors for saying it's everything, and they don't say it's everything, but sometimes it's like it's portrayed as it's like this magic product that will make everybody's lives easier, but it really isn't. I don't know, it kind of paints a picture that it's everything in here's everything in your case, take a look at everything in your case, and it's not. So I'm just kind of wary with the portable cases and the readers. Sometimes just make sure that who you're giving it to, whether it's another investigator or it's your prosecutor, that they have an understanding that this is what we're pushing out to you, that may be just parse data or maybe selected parse data. It's not everything in your case.
Yeah, and it's human nature. We have to be aware of it. Like we're really keen on talking about benefits the
Mm,
tools give you, but we rarely ever talk about the not negatives, but the limitations. That's the more accurate word. The
right.
limitation of the tool. And if we as examiners don't do that, well, vendors are definitely not going to do that, or
Mm,
they're trying to avoid it, right? Because they're selling a product, and that makes absolute sense. But as examiners, we need to know that those limitations. And I believe you're absolutely correct, Heather. And whatever the tool parse is usually what falls in the portable case. So if you need to do more digging, then you're not gonna do it looking at that portable case. And
right.
not only the examiners need to know this, the courts need to know this. If your stakeholder is you're working e-discovery for a lawyer, be it on the defense side or just civil, they need to understand the limitations of portable cases, no matter what the vendor is, and that is a report, right? The data is the data, right?
Right.
That's not the data; it's a report of the data. And
Right.
with those limitations in mind, then we can actually work the cases, supplement them in the way they should be.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. Um, a couple more thoughts before we move out of this, and
Sure.
it's not really FTK, but just things that come to my mind. And when I think about uh, you know, tooling, yeah, the artifact based review is kind of like the norm now. FTK came back, started with more of a timeline review, not timeline. I'm sorry, filter based reviews. What does that mean for folks that are not familiar? Well, you use sort of filters to get to the data that you need, as opposed to the tool giving you filter artifacts on for the first go. Now, I'm not saying FTK doesn't do that. Of course, it does it, but you can see the transformation, them going to that type of artifact-based examination, and to me that makes sense. You want to make sure that the reviewers, when they see a little icon for chats, they get chats, web history, whatever it is, and they can go through that. Reviewers in a lot of labs tend to be, like you were saying, the investigators, the detectives, the folks that are working the case. Then us, the examiners, we can go into the deep, dives or dig when they tell us, hey, we expect something and we don't see it. Then it's our job to do that, right?
Right.
So that means that the UI and the user interface for these people has to be self-explanatory. And look, if you tell me, well, I know, and this is for everybody, including myself. This thing that you put in, if we tell people how to do it, they'll get a benefit from it. If I had to tell you how to do it, there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
Nobody gives you an instruction book to know how to use an app on a phone, right? You
Right.
just click around and you figure it out. Your UI should be figurable out. I just
Figurable
invented
out.
a word.
Yes.
Yeah, I just invented a word. Yeah, so that's important. Don't make me read a 30-page manual as
Right.
a reviewer. Now, if you're an examiner, you read the manual. I expect you to read the manual, and I expect you to find problems with the manual and then tell the vendors to fix them.
Right. Yeah. You shouldn't have to take a class to figure out the report.
Yeah, from a reviewer perspective, and like I
Right.
said previously, speeding up work is not so much a function of tooling, which it is, but it's a function of your process, how you're reviewing and how you're staging your things. So,
Right.
just want to share those thoughts before we move to the next topic.
So we can move on to the next topic, which is Mattia has a new blog that he is doing some testing, and he's testing iOS 15 image forensic analysis and tools comparison project. I don't know if everybody's seen this. If you haven't, go check it out. Let me put up the blog here. So this is a project that he's doing with Josh Hickman's test data, the public images. It's the iOS 15 image, and it is a comparison of different tools in different categories of artifacts. So the project is going to be broken up into 4 different categories, and the first category has already been completed, which was general device information. So he's taken the iOS public image and compared parsing capabilities from Axiom, Physical Analyzer, Oxygen, Examine, Belkasoft, ArtX, and iLEAPP. And the general information section included hardware information, iOS and SIM card information, iOS wipe and setup, iOS basic settings, Apple accounts, and installed applications. He ran all of those tools on the image to see who parses what, pretty much. And then he wrote a blog and created these charts. And if the tool parsed the artifact, you got a green yes box. And if the tool didn't parse the artifact, you got a red no box. And this should be making the companies all go crazy to try and change their red no boxes to green yes boxes. And I watched Alexis the second it hit the blog go crazy and change all of his red no boxes to green yes boxes within days. I think there's one left, right? One left?
Yeah. Well, two, but one's gonna be just done shortly when somebody finds the data that I need. I'm not gonna say who, Heather.
So as soon as I find the data that he needs, there will be no red no boxes left, hopefully. But it did a comparison of these tools, and I think this is awesome. This should, I guess, light a fire under everybody to make sure that their tools are supporting these artifacts. And a lot of the artifacts are, I mean, they're common artifacts that you would see supported in most of these tools, right?
Yeah. I mean that comparative analysis, like you're saying, is such a great idea, and we should have more, and not so much because we want to, put vendors fighting against each other, but I believe that all vendors should support as most artifacts as they can, right? And there might be a difference in regards to how it's presented, and that's a good thing, right? I have more thoughts about those differences in a minute, but no, what a great idea. And he goes and says, look, these are the things that how the tools are reacting to this particular set of artifacts, and then he puts the path and the file name of the artifact, right? So you got no excuse if you're a tool developer like myself or a vendor. Hey, look, here it is. You can go find it. Look, I find it. Mattia Epifani says, I found it for you. And for those who don't know Mattia, he's an incredible examiner from Italy. He's a SANS instructor, highly respected. I highly, all the respect in the world for him. And he comes up with this great content. And you should be well served by looking him up in LinkedIn and Twitter and SANS pages, anywhere that he's at.
Yeah, I mean, look him up. Just look up his blogs and use his information for analysis. Definitely. He's awesome.
Oh, absolutely. And going through this process, it made me think about, okay, so what happens, right? Let's say Mattia does a whole bunch of these blogs, all the vendors, me included, whatever. We all start supporting the same artifacts, right? So where's the difference, right? I mean, if all the tools show the same thing, then what does that mean for us as examiners, right? And not so much for us. I mean, it's good for us, but for the vendors, right? Where will there be some competitive? What will be the competitive advantage be, right? If you're a tool maker and there's competition in the field, where would it be? So I'm gonna give some opinions on that. I believe will be in a few fields. I believe will be in presentation, which I mentioned, a second ago. Part of representation is also the reporting of that data, the UI. I also alluded to it shortly, how easy it is to use, and intelligent artifact correlation, right? And now it's gonna be like they say in Congress, a privilege motion time for me. I'm gonna take the my soapbox and start talking. So thanks Heather for allowing me.
What's that?
Thank you for allowing me to bring out my soapbox now and start.
Oh no, yeah, you go ahead.
So presentation, right? We're dealing with a lot of big data sets, so we gotta start leveraging technology to make those UIs responsive. And I get it; it's a lot of data, a lot of stuff to see, but our backend needs to be strong, our UI needs to be strong. We should be able to support multiple users reviewing, and our time to support needs to speed up. And I understand legacy code is a hard thing to manage, especially if the code base you're dealing with in these vendors is 10, 15, 20 years or whatever. but the developments are going way fast, and the community is leading, and hopefully vendors. And there's a couple of ways of doing that. Either you make your code base more streamlined, or recode your project, or you start integrating community projects within your tooling. And that's something that I think vendors should consider. Those user scripts or user generated queries, give more support to those, so your tool becomes a platform for investigations, not just a tool for people to just plain get what you give them. Hopefully that makes sense. Reporting, and this is where some of that AI stuff I think will be important. If I select some tag, I tag a whole bunch of stuff, right? I would hope that there's some AI somewhere in there that could put some context, not context, but like a small narrative. Like, look, I'm picking up these logs, I'm picking up these files, I'm picking up these things. So it can create a little framework that says, these items were picked and from this and that, and the locations and all that kind of be pre-written for me when I start doing my narrative report. And I don't think that's a big lift nowadays with AI technology. Um, because then the reporting of the tool goes beyond just the tags, but at least that type of drudgery work of putting paths, putting certain metadata points, the tooling could do like a narrative framework for you. So that's going to be a competitive advantage in the future if the narrative report can be part of it, be derived just from the picking of the artifacts. Does that make sense, Heather?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I hope that reporting ends up being where the competition between the vendors goes next,
Oh, absolutely.
because that's what I want to see is the good report. That's what I'm waiting for.
And reporting is like a never ending field for developments, because different fields will need different reports, and even different companies will need different reports, and even units within those companies will need different reporting needs, and starting to get into that, or integrating some well mature reporting tools will be helpful. Now this is the part that I really am interested in talking about to everybody. The biggest competitive advantage, I believe, should be, right, what I like to call artifact correlation intelligence, right? It's a term that I just made up and I like it. So what does that mean? It means that there's these artifacts on your evidence, right? Things that tell you about events that happened in the past, right? Where the phone was, the message that was sent. And the idea is that you can take bits of information from each artifact and use that to either filter the data or determine how important something is based on that aggregation. In other words, and I kind of hate this word, it's overused, but I'm gonna use it anyways. Synergy, right? Like the sum of these artifacts together is more than each one individually, right? The value of the parts together is more than each part individually, right? And I have a couple of examples. The first example, and I'll describe it verbally. It's a good job by Magnet Forensics when they came out with their correlations platform, right? Correlations, for those who are not familiar, is if you put in an axiom, in your case, you put 5 computers, 3 phones, 5 thumb drives, all in there, and they're related to each other. In other words, they're from the same house or the same case, the same owner, whatever it is. The tooling will go out and look for example, a piece of media, and it will try to correlate that piece of media and see if it's in other pieces of evidence there, another piece of media. I'm sorry, other evidence within your case. And if it's there, it will try to correlate it by its metadata. So you could tell graphically, that's the cool thing, like little lines connecting. The image was first seen in this computer. Then it was seen in a thumb drive. Then that thumb drive, then it was seen on the laptop, right? And you can see different timestamps as they move. This image then was put in an email that was sent out to this location, for example. It was also, this picture was also moved or copied over to this other thing that's like a vault for pictures. Does that make sense? So you could then, instead of looking for the pictures and figure out where they are, the tooling will kind of track for you. And now if you have a piece of interest in that case, you can see that correlation among all your pieces of evidence. And I've used that successfully in cases to determine, culpability of a suspect, and
Yeah,
successfully at
that's a
work.
really good feature.
Absolutely. And another one that I'm really in love with, I'm gonna show this to everybody. It's from Cellebrite now. And let me present it real quick. So what they've been doing, and again, a lot of credit to Ian Whiffen and his team. They came out recently with the media origin feature in Cellebrite in Physical Analyzer. And what they do is, and if you're anybody has worked CSAM cases, for example, knows that. And again, I use those type of examples because they're really, sadly, really prevalent. But we would need sometimes we need to know where this picture came from. Was this picture taken with the device? Was this picture downloaded? Was this picture received in some way? And by what app, right? So you can do that manually. I've done it manually for years. How do I do it manually? Well, I look at the picture, I figure out the timestamps, and I compare those timestamps, for example, within the picture timestamps with the EXIF timestamps. And if they're the same, well, that kind of gives me a better feeling of, hey, look, that's pretty consistent with something that was been taken with the phone. But that's not completely right. You cannot make a determination just on timestamp. You need more data. The next step is, okay, let's look at the path. Is it, if it's iOS, is it in the DCIM folder? Well, if that's the case, that makes me more confident that possibly this was taken on the phone, because stuff in DCIM is there because the user put it there, right? So that gets you closer. I look at the S6 data, EXIF data again. Is the device model or the camera, all that, whatever it is, on device information consistent with the phone that I have in my hand, right? If it says Samsung and the EXIF data says Samsung, but the phone is an iPhone, well, of course not, right? So it's a consistent, and you get a better level of confidence. And you can go to photos.sqlite. Great job done. We mentioned him before, in by the Francis Scooter on. I always forget his name. I say Francis Scooter. I forget his real name. um, Studying photos.sqlite, and within that database in iOS devices, there's a field for the pictures, right? That tells you what application generated it. If it comes from Snapchat, if it comes from the camera itself, then that entry will be uh, blank, right? Now you put all of those, and then you can say, okay, I'm pretty confident this picture came from the. I say came, but it was generated by the phone or not. But that's if you're doing one picture, that's great. If you're gonna do 20, 30, 40, 50, you're not gonna do it by hand. So what they've done here, you can see on the screen, the folks that are watching, you can see media origin filter there, and after the tooling does its magic, you can filter on device capture. That means it was taken with the phone. If it's external, it was put in, downloaded, or whatever it is. If it was something that's a camera associated with the device, like from a sync event, right? And the cool thing about this is that you can then say, okay, I got this case. I think there's production of illegal contraband. I'm going to go to kind of speed up my work, and I go to device capture and filter all my pictures from device capture. And I get a leg up on possible production by looking for pictures that were the tooling is pretty confident, not 100%, but pretty confident that could have been done by the tool. And it's an amazing functionality. But notice, it's nothing inherent in the picture that tells you that. The tooling took all these data points, make an analysis, right? And like I mentioned a second ago, it correlated each artifact and brought out some intelligence, actionable intelligence for you as the examiner. We should do this more and more. I give you an example. Again, those see some cases, right? What if the tool could tell me, yeah, this picture is consistent with a possession charge? Now, we also, the tool tell me, well, examiner, we also found that this picture was also received through this torrent application. Well, that's also consistent with a receipt charge, right? What if the tool tells me, well, this picture was made with the device, and it's not, it's not part of your hash sets. It's possible that this is a production image that you can charge production. This picture was not only received and maintained and kept, but was also distributed through to Kik, for example. This would be a possible distribution charge. So the tool could unite different data points through whatever parameters you need. In my case, I gave a that's what we both work. We work in the criminal law enforcement sector, and give those parameters based on the law, on what violations are. But we can think of an infinite amount of correlations we could do for civil cases, for all sorts of investigative endeavors, making more or getting to better conclusions out of the different pieces that the device has. I believe that's a competitive advantage of the future, and vendors should look into those kind of progression in regards to how tools operate. And
Very
that
cool feature.
that's
One
my
word of caution.
yeah, that's my soapbox. Go ahead. What's the caution?
One
Tell
word
us.
of caution.
Tell
The
us.
report will say device captured. Just, I worry a little bit that kind of maybe someone who just is brand new to forensics will go testify that it was 100% captured with the device. So just make sure that you have I just want to make sure everybody has an understanding that it's not 100%, but the idea of taking all of those different factors and bringing them together to have that understanding of where an image may have come from and how it got there and all of the different factors surrounding it is awesome.
Oh, absolutely. And this is another big important point. Um, in digital forensics, and again, if you're gonna testify that something was in a particular way, right? You
Mhm.
gotta make sure that's the case. You cannot
Oh
point to
yeah.
the tool and say, "Well, the tool told me," right?
Right.
And if you're gonna give an opinion, right, all this is consistent with this picture being there. You gotta make sure you are able to sustain that opinion.
Right.
Just saying the tool had a little field that said device captured, that's not gonna cut it. And you're gonna get in a lot of trouble if your examination kind of has that type of crutch. And yeah, Chris is totally on point. He's saying that's where training is key, right?
A hun-
As an
100%.
examiner, to understand what the tool is actually telling you and not
Yeah.
assume anything about it.
Right. 100%.
All right, so yeah, so that's all done with with future development. So let's pivot now, keep about talking about tooling, but talk about open source tooling. Heather, what do we got?
All right. So we have some new Leap artifacts.
Yes.
I am going to share some new Leap artifacts that came out since the last podcast. And I'm going to try and share my screen here in a second. Let me just pull up the tool here.
Like Josh Hickman is saying in the chat, verify, verify, verify.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And verify the verification. Absolutely.
All right. Let me share my screen here. Present.
Yeah, I got folks in the chat saying, a lot of people that say the tool gave me the result, and we shouldn't rely on that. So absolutely on
Yeah.
point.
I've heard people say, I know because the tool presented it to me. And yeah, that's just a scary answer. So.
Extremely.
So the first new artifact that I'm going to show is going to be the last car connection. Let me deselect all. We're going to use iLEAPP for this. And there's a new artifact for a last car connection that was discovered since the last podcast.
No, and if you're the first, you never heard about iLEAPP. This is your first podcast, from us, or you're listening. It's an open source tool that myself and maybe like a couple of dozen people from the community develop. It's open source. It's free, MIT license, and we try to parse Androids, iOS, and other devices. So Heather is showing some of the new stuff that's coming into that tool.
So I'm going to add a full file system extraction from my iOS test device to iLEAPP and choose an output location. I'm just going to throw it on the desktop. And I'm going to just choose I think it's under identifiers.
Yes.
I can find it.
Keep going down. See, that's why you need to use the load profile option. Just saying.
I should. I have the profile. So I'm just going to load the profile. But it's under identifier. So let me load the profile. And then I can show that artifact. I do have the profile right on my drive here.
Yeah, and the tooling on this on the interface says load profile. What that does is, if you save that profile previously, you can select any series of artifacts from the tool, like from 1 to 20 to all, and that way you can just load that profile. It checks the box on whatever artifacts you care about, and then it goes. So
All right, loaded the profiler, so I already have them pre-processed. Let's see.
yeah, but I don't think I didn't see you load the profile though.
Oh, I did. It said okay.
Okay.
All right. Let me share my screen for the car here.
Oh, awesome! Look at that.
There we go. So the last car connection is from my car on Sunday. It's my Hyundai Tucson. On Sunday, I connected my test phone, and it comes up in the location D cache P list. So that has recently been added to iLEAPP.
And it's pretty funny because I was there looking for some of, Mattia was saying, hey, there's this data there that you should use. I think it was the calibration UID or something. And as I'm going finding that piece of data, I'm like, wait, what's this? It says last vehicle connection. So again, we're using Josh Hickman again. He's on the chat, and he's his image is a public test image. And I said, look, I got these timestamps. Is this accurate? And he's like, oh, I put it on the PDF. Let's look. So he has a PDF that he explains in the PDF all the actions he took when he created the image. Amazing. And it was exactly to the minute. The connections and the disconnection. In the test data, you can see the brand of the car, as a Nissan and something else. In Heather's case, that's a MAC address, right?
Yeah, yep. Mine came out with the MAC address. I was
Yeah.
looking for the Hyundai Tucson, but mine actually provided the MAC address to my car.
And I was telling Heather before the show, I think that's better than the name, right? Because MAC addresses are pretty unique. That's what makes them, a Mac, right?
Right.
One of the big things. So if I have any question that this phone was connected exactly to this vehicle, you got a MAC address to go off, way better than a name. Although a name is good as well. So
Right.
that was an accidental discovery of that artifact, but I was looking for a different one.
Another artifact that was added to iLEAPP since the last podcast is voicemails, but not just voicemails that have been trashed. So voicemails that are recently deleted. So I'm just going to pop that up again and share my screen, and I will show you. So I'm going to browse out to the same extraction, which is a full file system from an iPhone. And we'll throw that on the desktop as well, the extraction. And the voicemails are under call history, I believe. That's the wrong version. Voicemails were under call history. All right. Just going to pop up the report. All right.
So it's coming up.
Yep.
There
we go. And
awesome.
So the first voicemail, it brings up, I have two voicemails on this device. So the first voicemail is just under voicemail, and it shows the data about the voicemail, the date and time, the sender, receiver, the ICC ID, and the duration. And then there's a link to play the voicemail. And then just under that, there is the deleted voicemail, and it shows the date and time, the sender, receiver. And this one has the trash date. So the date that it was trashed sent to the recently deleted. The cool thing about iLEAPP with these voicemails and the trashed voicemails is I ran this extraction in a couple of other tools, and the other tools that I ran it in get these two voicemails, but neither of the tools I tested it in indicate that that voicemail was trashed. So if you go into the database in the other two tools, you can find the column that indicates it's trashed in the database, but you don't see it in the parse data. It just provides you that voicemail and as if it's a regular voicemail and it was not deleted by the user.
Oh my
So,
goodness. And what a great example of the need for validation and making sure that the tool is showing you what you need, because the tool will not show you everything. And it makes sense, right? Let's say this
right,
voicemail data has 40 fields and you only need 5 or 6. But you know what? The tool maker might added only 4 to the report. So
right.
then what? If this is your biggest piece of evidence, yeah, these voicemails here, you need to know everything about those voicemails within your data set. So the tool will point you to them, but it's incumbent upon you as the examiner to go in and see if there's any other data points that the tool is not showing you. And like Heather's saying, this shows you if it's trashed, and some other tools are not making that differentiation. This was an addition from Johan and Polashek, if I say it correctly, and sorry if I mispronounce your name. I did my best effort there, and again, it's the community, folks coming in saying, "Look, I discovered this. This is available to everybody now, and hopefully the vendors can follow the lead of the community."
Yeah, definitely an important column to add to the tools. So if the tools know who they are, the vendors know who they are, please add that column because it's definitely important to know if the voicemail was deleted.
To say the least, absolutely. Yeah. So um, we have all those. We have all the ones from. Oh, we have one more, right? The
yes. So
yeah.
the torrent data,
Yep. Yep.
and you were going to talk a little bit about the torrent data.
Yes. So I don't have a visual to give everybody, because the data sets that I use to create the artifact are for cases, and obviously we cannot reveal those. But again, torrent data, and for those who are not familiar, torrents are a way of distributing multimedia to the internet, leveraging the power of all the people that are uh, in a peer-to-peer network. Okay, and again, for some cases, it's used a lot. So it's a great artifact because data or torrent data, it's encoded in a format called BN code. And if you're an examiner and you're not familiar with BN code, you need to get familiar with it since yesterday. B encoded data is important in torrent cases because in order to receive or download from the peer network, whatever the media that the person's interested in, a torrent file needs to be obtained. And there's different ways of obtaining it, and magnet links, and it's beyond the scope. The point is that if I find those on the device and I'm able to see what's encoded within them, I can make a correlation between the media on the device and the files used to acquire that media or to share it out as well. And the tooling does that for you. It will take be encoded torrent files and show you all the parts inside that torrent, and not the files themselves. The files are not in the torrent file, right? But the file names and the metadata of the data that's to be downloaded through the peer network onto the computer. And that's super important because now I can say, look, I have this image of contraband. It's in a directory that's consistent with downloading files. And now I have this torrent whose content, file structure, file size, everything equals this media that I have here. It's a great strong indicator. Look at the timestamps. Is the media, if the torrent file predates the media itself, it's another good indicator that this was downloaded through the torrent peer-to-peer network. And I don't think we have enough analytical tools for torrents in this way. So that artifact is a way for us, the community, to show that there's usefulness in this type of analysis.
Yeah. We have the Discord as well.
Yeah, and that's a really good one. And I tried to have a visual, but I wasn't able to get it on time. And it's one of those, and it will feed into the meme of the week, which you're gonna be doing in the next 2 minutes. um, you go to Discord, and Discord, depending on what platform, it changes. It has changed a lot. How is the data is stored? I think Discord was the first series of blog posts that people made people aware of the type of work that I do for the community, because it was new when I started doing that analysis. So I seen that progression since Discord came out all the way to today. And in Android, they used to have the messages in this single files, kind of text files, and they had a pretty unique to them encoding. And that you can find that in my blog, abrignoni.com. Search for Discord. Now what they've done now is they have a SQLite database, and that's fine, and they have JSON in it within that database, which again, there's nothing wrong with it. My, I'm laughing because my supervisor, he just retired, and I know he's in the chat just because of the comment that he made.
You want me to put that up there?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, it's good to read you, man. All right, so what they did was they put this JSON inside the database, which is fine, but they put a wrinkle on it, right? They put this kind of hex values in front of the JSON. So if you try to use the JSON extract functionality in SQLite, what that does is you can tell in your query, say, okay, database, give me this field, this column. I know there's JSON in it, so give me from that JSON, give me this key and this key and this key, obviously, and the values that go with it. But that little hex value in front of the JSON breaks it because the database gets confused, says, hey, this is not JSON, right? And it's true, it's not. It's actually the coding for backspace. I don't know why. So I figured that out, and what I did was I took out that value, and the JSON became legit JSON, and you could take the data out. And yeah, put that sitcom in there. Yeah,
I have to.
yeah. So it's data inside data, right? You got the SQLite database and you got JSON in it, and a weird JSON with some backspace value in front of it. Take it out and you can get it. And during that, that's an inside joke for folks in the there's an inside joke for folks that played the Cellebrite CTF, the SID. Everybody in the Cellebrite, there was a question saying, what's the SID of whatever? And nobody knew what an SID was. Now that the solved questions are coming out, we all, then a lot of us discovered that it was a piece of an SID, an information piece within a nested data. I forgot. I think it's protobuf inside base 64 or base 64 inside protobuf, something like that. It was nested, and we will be seeing that more and more and more and more. This is just one example of JSON inside SQLite, and that's coming. That'll be there. So you need to be able to examine those data stores when they break. And how did I figure this out? What was the need? Well, the agent was telling me, hey, my suspects were talking on Discord, and you parsed it. I didn't say parse, but you said you gave me this report from Cellebrite or from Magnet, whatever tool it was, FTK, and I don't see no Discord here. And I'm like, there's no Discord? Well, sometimes the first reaction is, well, because there's none. But if the investigator or the stakeholder has intelligence about something being there and it's not there, it's that's what we get paid for. We need to go and look. Is that the case or not? And it was there. It's just that it was broken. The tooling, and I think it's still broken right now. The tooling did not recognize it because it changed format. It went from a text file, or not text file, but like a flat file, over to a database with JSON and a weird character in front of it. And as good examiners, we try to make sure that the vendors are aware so they can update that tooling, and everybody can benefit from it. Yes. So since I mentioned because we're literally running out of time. So
yeah,
a great segue to show the meme of the week, right? And the meme of the week, I'm going to present it right now. And for the folks that are listening to the podcast, I will describe it verbally. We have, that big, humongous airplane, right? The cargo airplane. They're so big that the nose of the airplane opens, and some people are laughing because I already read it. The nose of the airplane opens, and cargo comes out. And in this case, what comes out is another airplane. So it's an airplane inside of an airplane, and the caption is storing JSON in a SQL database, right? And if I show this to a friend, they'll be like, well, a friend not in the field, in our field, they'll be like, what are you talking about? Yeah, but you think about it, they're both data stores, right? The SQLite and the JSON, they're both planes, right? But when putting JSON inside of it, that's pretty much a graphical representation of it that you see there on the screen. So yeah, Chris is saying it's an Antonov, it's a plane. I think they had some in Ukraine, but that's a story for another day. Pretty neat.
We have one last thing we have to do, though.
What we have to do?
The podcast giveaway.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Awesome.
Saturday was International Podcast Day, and I put up a post on the podcast page asking people to follow, um, like, and repost a picture of Alexis and I with a bunch of funny faces from the podcast. A few people did it, and I have a giveaway, which I'm not going to say what it is. I'm just going to mail it to the lucky winner, and they can post it if they want to, or just keep it a secret. But I am going to do the little wheel and present the winner today. So let me see if maybe I can share my screen. I'm not very good at that.
No,
I'll look at that.
I like that. So they can't say that anybody got any what's it called, under the table deal, right? It's
Yeah,
you.
right.
It's all live here. You can see it.
I even my few coworkers that followed and reshared the post, I'm like, you can't win, you're not going on the wheel. So they're not on the wheel. But I put the names in, I'm gonna shuffle them a couple times and then hit the spin and we'll see who wins.
Yay! Look at that.
Andrea Martinez. So if Andrea is not on tonight, that's okay. I'm going to send you a LinkedIn message and get your address and send you a special gift for following, reposting, and liking our post on International Podcast Day.
That's
and
awesome.
Actually, I'm feeling a little generous tonight, so let's do 2 people.
Oh yeah.
Let's spin it again. Let me see if I can spin it again. Look at that. And Jessica Hyde. All right. Andrea
Awesome.
and Jessica, I'm going to message both of you. You're winning a special gift.
Yeah, and thank you, Andrea, for being here live. So I'm so happy that you were able to see yourself win. So that's
yeah.
that's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, Heather,
right.
again, thank you so much. Oh, one last little detail. In case you're all wondering, it says "Be a Fringe Examiner" here on my little sign on my over my shoulder. Be one, and what does that mean is there's a little backstory to that. But we'll tell it some other day. We run out of time, but be the examiner that goes above and beyond, right?
Yeah.
That try to explore the fringes of the field, the things that are far out, and let's bring everybody to that edge, right? To the most advanced, useful, dedicated that we can be. Let's all be French examiners and expand those horizons. So it's a phrase that I like a lot, that I taken it to heart, and I'm sharing with everybody today. So be a French examiner.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Thank you, Heather. As always, you're awesome and kind. I appreciate all the work that you do for the podcast and the community. And we'll be back, another 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
All righty. Well, with that, everybody, thank you, everybody that's been live. We appreciate you. Troy is there. Good to see you and hear you and read you. We'll see each other next time.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks, you too. I think